Hello everyone, welcome back to the OptiShot Academy. I'm Chad.
And I'm Ben.
Okay, continuing to train your driver, we want to focus on how we can get that ball moving out there as far as possible. The farther you can get the ball out there, the easier the game becomes. Having said that, angle of attack is something that we're going to talk about. And a lot of people, might not be familiar with this, so do you want to show people at home what this angle of attack number is and how it influences how far the ball goes?
Yeah, so angle of attack is basically telling us whether we're hitting down on the driver, whether we're hitting up on the driver, whether it's somewhat neutral, and it influences distance more than people at home might think. So if you have a player that's maybe hitting down 5 degrees versus a player that's hitting up 5 degrees, the difference in distance is going to be anywhere from 25 to 30 yards just based on whether or not you're hitting down or up.
So you're telling me that I could have the same club head speed, let's say 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
And if I hit down on it versus up on it, the difference could be 30 miles or 30 yards?
30 yards, yeah. It's fascinating to see how this works.
No kidding. So I can get more distance just by changing the way this club's coming up and down, not by necessarily increasing the club head speed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So if all the variables remain the same, so when we're talking about this angle of attack, I borrowed this from my son this morning. Thank you, Brooks. So you can think of it like this. So if we were flying, if we have a downward angle of attack, you're actually hitting the ball when the airplane is still coming down. If you're hitting up on the golf ball, that's more like the airplane is taking off, and then neutral would be the plane is landing. So we have downward, plane is landing. Upward, plane is taking off. And then neutral, the plane has landed.
Got it. So in an ideal world, we're trying to get that thing slightly up through the ball, taking off with the airplane. Is that true?
Only if we want to hit it far.
All right. So if the goal is distance, we're trying to get that driver moving up and through the ball, not
down.
Not down and moving through the ball. Okay. So having said that, this week, how are people going to play around with this at home? What are they going to do about this angle of attack thing?
We're just going to kind of play around with smashing down. We're going to smash up. And then we're going to feel something in between those two. So we're just going to run some experiments, and you at home you get to see what happens.
So back to our calibration idea, we're just going to play with this one variable and see what happens?
You got it.
Okay. So where would you start? When you're doing this down and up thing, would you use the slight, moderate, severe continuum?
Most definitely.
Okay. Where are you going to start?
Let's start with up, since there's a tall tee down on the ground right now. So one of the things that'll help you with this experiment, if you're trying to hit up on it, we might recommend that you use a taller tee. If the tee is too low, you might notice that you're hitting the top of the ball. So the higher the tee, the better when we're trying to hit up on this thing.
Okay. So in your mind, you tried to hit slightly or severely up. Which one?
For me, that was severely. So I tried to hit up on that thing as much as I could. And I noticed that when I tried to hit up severely, I lost a little bit of control.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so having said that, where would you go from here?
Let's go to moderately down this time. So I'm going to try to hit down on this ball just a little bit. And I noticed that you put a lower tee down on the ground. So if you're going to try to hit down, I think it might be a good idea to have a lower tee. What you might notice is if you're hitting down on the driver and you have a tall tee, you might notice some scratches on top of the driver. We don't want to do that.
I'm glad you brought that up. At home, if you have your driver right now, look on it. If there's scratches on the top line of the driver, it's a pretty good indication that you're already hitting down on it, and that causes the ball to pop up. So definitely the #1 distance killer, yes?
Oh, yeah, the ball doesn't go very far when you do that. It just goes really high, but it doesn't get out.
Very good. So proceed with caution. Based on your living room or garage, wherever you're at, this could promote some shots that pop up. So you have to proceed with caution. If you already have some marks on there, you're pretty much already doing that. So you're going to try to hit moderately down on this one?
I'm going to try to hit moderately down, yes, sir.
Okay. Would you make any adjustments to your setup, or just in swing, you're just going to try to get the club moving more down?
Well, I always try to be aware of the weight of the club head is, so I'm just going to try to feel the weight coming more downward.
Got it. Whoa. Definitely a different outcome.
British Open golf right there,
Yeah,
keeping
how
it
about
under the
that?
wind. So that's another place you might be able to use this shot. Is so when you're hitting down and you're hitting up with your driver, it's going to influence how high or how low the ball goes. So if I'm ever into the wind and it's coming right in my face, I'm probably going to hit down on it a little bit. just so it pierces through the wind, because I don't want to float it up in the wind so it comes back and hits me in the face.
Kind of like the tiger stinger.
Yeah, the tiger stinger.
All right, very good. So you tried severely up and then moderately down. Where would you go from here in your calibration?
Let's go just neutral. So now I'm going to try to kind of zero everything out just to see what happens.
All right. Would you make a couple of rehearsal practice swings to try to feel the difference between the down and the up to try to find the middle? Way up, somewhere in the middle. There you go.
Got it.
Okay. All right.
So it seems to me so far neutral is kind of working best for me from a distance standpoint and an accuracy standpoint. One of the things I can tell you about my own game is I have a tendency to hit up on the ball actually too much. So when I practice on the launch monitor at home, a lot of times it's telling me that that angle of attack number is 7 or 8, maybe a little higher than what I need it. So when I try to feel neutral, it's probably more like 2 or 3, and it gives me a really nice outcome.
Got it, got it. So the only way to run these experiments is to play around with it. Don't try to be perfect. We want to see to what degree do you have to swing up or down to get the ball more in the middle of the club face and optimize how far that ball actually goes. So run these experiments at home, play around with your angle of attack. We'll look forward to seeing you the next time at the OptiShot Academy.